Hello everyone! By the way, I am Mark Jen Martinez and welcome back to my channel. And now, we will learn another thing. Ano kaya ito? We call this one as 5 E's. And you know what? This 5 E's, it is somehow a trend when it comes to teaching science in the elementary grades. And now, without further ado, let's get started! But before we'll start, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe on my channel for more videos. And of course, don't forget to hit the notification bell, of course, para updated mo always. So let's start! So 5 E's. So let me ask you, what does this picture signify? So I will give you 5 seconds. So dapat magtubag mo dira, ha? Go! Okay, I like your idea. Thank you so much for participating. So of course, 5 E's stands for engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. So as you can see, there is arrow, diba? It shows what? A cycle. So therefore, from engage, you will now go to explore. After explore, you will now go to explain. After explain, you will now go to elaborate. And after elaborate, you will now go to evaluate. And after evaluate, you will now go back to engage. So therefore, it doesn't mean that after you evaluate, tapos na. But you need to start again the cycle. Okay? By simply starting the cycle, it shows that it is a sine qua non. And when we talk about sine qua non, therefore, all of the E's should be undergone. And dapat, hindi ka magsa-start nga, engage, mukalit din kang explain. No. After engage, there should be an explanation. Explain, elaborate, evaluate. So therefore, each phase, steps, or level should not be what? Rearranged. So therefore, you need to start from engage and end with evaluate. And then after evaluate, you will now start again to engage. So let's start discussing each. So engage. When we talk about engage, it is what? Engaging your students or pupils in your class. Because as a teacher, you need to see to it that your students are interested in your class. Why? Because we need to hook first the attention of our students. Because if in the first place, we did not hook their attention at the very beginning of our lesson, so therefore, there's a big tendency that they will not get interested throughout your class. So dapat start pa lang daan, you need to hook their interest. And aside from that one is in engage. You need to let the students be ready. Because according to connectionism by Edward Lee Thorndike, one of his laws is what we call law of readiness. It stated that if the child or if a pupil is not ready, so therefore, he or she will not learn. That is why as a teacher, we need to wait for the students to become ready. And part of making our students be ready in our class is of course by motivating them. By igniting their interest in our class, most especially with the lesson of the day. That is what we call engage. And of course, we now have this explore. So when we talk about explore, is you need to give your pupils the opportunity to work together without direct instruction from the teacher. Why? Because as a teacher, it is actually part of discovery approach wherein we need to let our students explore his or her own knowledge. But in the level of explore, we need to let them collaborate with their peers. And our role as a teacher is of course, we will just be facilitators. Mag-facilitate lang ta sa ilaha. And also, aside from that one, is of course, we need to let our students be puzzled. So therefore, we need to let them be curious because out from that curiosity, therefore, they will now explore. Because part here in the explore is of course letting our students draw a hypothesis, most especially in science, because now here in explore they will test their hypothesis if it is true or not. That is the nature of explore. And of course, explain. So here in explain, so from the word itself, explain, we need to let our students explain the concept on their own words. Because out from their exploration, I think they do have this what we call observations. And from that observations, they turn the concept into their own. So they could now be able to explain that certain concept based from what they have acquired. So that is explain. And of course, we now have the elaborate. When we talk about elaborate, it is not just about explaining or explaining more. But when we talk about elaborate, it is from the concept that they have learned, they have explained, here in elaborate, they will now practice it. So it is some sort of application of what they have learned. That is the nature of elaborate. And other, you know what, other books, they termed it as extend. And after elaborate is we now have the evaluate. Of course, evaluate, evaluation, making judgment, giving ratings. Like for example, assessing the students. Yes, that is evaluate. And after we evaluate, we will now go back to engage again our students. So that is the nature of this what we call 5 E's lesson planning packet in elementary science. And now let's dig deeper to this one. So we now have this table. So actually, I've mentioned na kanina some of the descriptions of the 5 E's. But for you to be able to have in notes and of course to extend your learning, let's discuss this one. So these are the key components. So let's start with engage. So kanina, I mentioned that we need to hook the interest of the students. And aside that one is of course encourage them to ask questions, to think critically, and of course to uncover previous knowledge. That is why talking about lesson plan, there are some teachers wherein of course we will put the review under engage, because you know what, most especially in elementary, if you are teaching in elementary, is tuloy-tuloy yung klase. Ikaw lang yung teacher nila sa lahat, 'di ba? So therefore, the topics are what? Coherent from each other, from one another. So therefore, they need to master first the skill on that certain topic before they could proceed to the another one. That is why here in engage, we need to uncover that one. Okay? And of course, we have the set of activities that you may use. Again, you may use. It is not necessarily that you will use all of this one. Actually, you could create your own activity. Yes, but these are just samples. We have short game to ignite the interest of your students. Ganan magida sila lingaw. Picture book. We also have video clip. You know what? These students, most especially in elementary, love to watch video clips. I really don't know. Maybe it is because of the advent of technology wherein they really love to watch clips, sing songs that are related to the class. And of course, real world problem. That is actually good. If you tend to ask your students, for example, who among you here, your topic is about acceleration, who or speed na lang, who among you here nakasakay na og bus? Oh, ganyan. So therefore, there is what we call connection to the real world setting. And of course, connection to previous concept that they have learned. So that is the nature of engage. Next, we have the explore. So explore, as what I mentioned kanina, you need to let your students collaborate with their peers and of course. So pasensya na sa mga doggies diri ah. But of course, it won't stop me explaining 5 A's. So utilizes a hands-on, minds-on activity to encourage investigation and inquiry because they will be the one who will discover. So therefore, they are engaged into learning. And of course, teacher facilitates, as what I mentioned kanina, they serve as a facilitator. So as a facilitator, dili lang po ng pasagdaan ni mga estudyante. You need to assist them. If they have questions, you will answer, you will guide them. So we have set of activities here that you may use. You may, ha? So first is cooperative learning task. So of course, they need to work together. Yes, kadalasan talaga ng explore or under explore is letting your students work together. So there is collaboration. And of course, hands-on task using manipulatives. So therefore, they make use of things that can be manipulated. And of course, investigation, which is actually good because sometimes here in Explore, your students will draw now hypothesis and they will test if that hypothesis is true or not. Okay, so we are done with engage and explore. Let's proceed to explain. So here in explain, of course, student explanations and justifications of explore activity, discoveries or solution. So therefore, explain is somehow connected to what is your activity in explore. Yes, because here in explain, of course, they will explain what they have investigated under your activity in explore. And of course, formal introduction to important terms and vocabulary, and of course, use of varied questions techniques to help students connect. So as a teacher, we need to make use of a variety of questions. Most especially, we give that one to the explore, and here in explain, they will explain what is their answer on your questions. So we have this set of activities that you may use. We have the vocabulary organizer, notes, foldables, explanatory video. So it depends upon you, teacher, on what will be your activity as long as it coincides with the part explained. And of course, we now have the elaborate. Elaborate, it is designed to help students extend their understanding of the concept in new situations. As what I have mentioned, it is where the students tend to apply what they have learned. So require students to use important terms and vocabularies and applies knowledge to everyday lives. So therefore, in elaborate, it is somehow extension of what they have acquired during your previous E's. So these could be the possible activities that you may use. Problem solving tasks, investigation, real world task, independent practice, game, station design to practice. So it depends upon you, teacher, on what will be your activity as long as it suits to the topic and it suits to your students. And lastly, we have the evaluate. So students demonstrate that they have achieved the lesson objective. So discuss related questions, assess student progress through observations. So it could be in the form because sometimes we tend to say that evaluate is more on multiple choice, matching type. No, but evaluate could be in the form of journal task, traditional worksheet like what I've said, quiz, exit ticket, or it depends upon you, teacher, on what will be your way of evaluating your students for you to be able to give judgment whether they have learned or not your lesson. So, those are the things that you need to, of course, remember when we talk about 5 E's. And now, let me show you an example of a 5E lesson plan. Okay, so we have now an example of a 5E lesson plan. This is a semi-detailed lesson plan. So of course, when we talk about semi-detailed, there will be no students activity, more on teacher's activity na po tayo. So, here in our lesson plan, so, it is one of the sample of the lesson plans published by the Lorimer, of course, publishing house. And, of course, so, I just, what do we call this one, contextualize it with what we have in our subject. So, of course, you should not forget to start first with objectives. Okay, here in objectives, of course, we have cognitive, psychomotor, and as well as affective. So don't forget the, what do we call this one? The verbs that you will use. Because sometimes there are students who are what? Using inappropriate verbs. For example, inilagay niya sa affective. Draw. Ha? Psychomotor po yung draw. So, okay. So, these are our set of objectives. But, disclaimer lang po ha, in DepEd, they are now using content standards, performance standards, and learning competency. But here in our institution, we will use muna for you to be able to master on how to write objectives based on this domain. We have cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. And after objectives, we now have the subject matter. So first is of course your topic. And of course, science ideas. What will be the concept that you will be discussing in your topic? So in the case of this one, our topic is about functions of the major parts of the digestive system. So, science ideas. We now have the science process. So, ano yung mga process na gagawin ng mga estudyante dito? So, they will be observing, identifying, and describing. So, it depends upon you, teacher, on what will be the scientific process that your students will undergo. So, yes, I already mentioned these processes. Just go back to the teaching approaches. I mentioned this one. And of course, the value focus. So, it depends upon you or kung ano yung value na makukuha nila out from your topic. But here, in the case of this one, it is the cooperation. And of course, materials. So, ano yung mga material mo? So, video presentation showing the major parts of and functions of the digestive system. So, please specify. Hindi lang yung lalagyan ninyo dito na Manila paper, chart, So, please specify. And of course, your references. Don't forget to include, most especially if you are going to use online sources. And if you opt to use online sources, it should be in the form of what? EPA format. And of course, the other learning resources, like for example, gumamit ka ng picture or video, please include their URL. So again, don't forget the objectives, the cognitive, psychomotor, and affective, the subject matter, topic, science, ideas, science process, value focus, materials, references, other learning resources. And now, dito na tayo sa learning activities. So, here in engage. So, in engage, we have the first one, drill. So, you may have drill or pwede ring wala. But here in our class, you need to have a drill. So, a drill, it could be connected with your lesson for the day or some sort of energizer to your students. But in the case of our class, I prefer more if it is connected with your topic. Like for example, this one. We have the read me. So you will let your students read the following words. And these words these were of course discussed as part of the organ systems of the body. So, and of course, for your review. So, of course, after drill, you will now have your review. So, as what you could see, there is title, 4 picks, 1 word. So, don't forget to write it. Some sort of, ano yung activity na ginawa niyo dyan. You need to write the title and it should be bold. So, we have some sort of instruction here. 4 pictures will be flashed on the screen and the learners will guess, blah, 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 blah. So, this is our review. And of course, for letter B, explore. We now have this what we call motivation. So, motive questions. And of course, your motivation, it depends on you because you may have activity or have emotive question. But prefer more if you will have this what we call activity. But here, in the case of this one, I use motive questions because I will ignite or I will, of course, motivate my students by using the following questions. And of course, presentation. So, now watch this video and find out what are the major parts and functions of the digestive system. So, this is a presentation. And of course, pre-activity. So, after watching the video, ano ba yung gagawin nila? So, therefore, this pre-activity, before you are going to, of course, present, you need to let or inform your students first that you will be having an activity after watching the video. Because kapag hindi nyo sila sinabihan na may activity kayo, there's a big tendency na hindi sila makikinig or hindi nila bibigyan ng atensyon yung panonood nila. Okay, so the pre-activity here is, it is a group activity wherein you will give a task to perform by each group. So they will choose leader, reporter, and recorder. So yes, ito siya. Let the leaders recite or give the standards for group activity. So ano ba yung activity dito sa pre-activity? That is your announcement sa kanila. But here is their worksheet. So, let the learners answer the activity with a given time. So, group ito. So, we have the name of the group, materials, of course, instruction, and of course, don't forget this one, questions. Because later on, these questions will be answered in explain part. And of course, their conclusion. Okay. And now explain. So as what I mentioned kanina, that what they did here in activity proper will be explained here in letter C. So it is via group reporting. And of course, we also have discussion wherein they will discuss each part and as well as answer the following question. And now we have the elaborate. So first is of course the generalization. So my activity here in generalization is essay wherein they will write a summary of what they have learned as well as the importance. So you are hitting now the affective. Okay? The affective domain. And after generalization, we now have the application. So, therefore, group activity, jingle rap, and spoken poetry. So, this is my activity wherein they will perform these three. So, each group will be assigned with one, like group 1 jingle, group 2 rap, group 3 spoken poetry. So, we are hitting now the, what do we call this one? The psychomotor domain. And of course, don't forget to write your instruction here as well as your rubrics if it is performance task. And of course, for my evaluation, so match the descriptions in column A and column B matching type. So, therefore, of course, in answering, for example, number 1, stores undigested food. So, therefore, they will identify what will be the part wherein yan yung definition niya. So therefore, we are hitting now the cognitive domain. So I write here link because of course in our class you will have your own quiz wherein pa-quizo ninyo inyong mga classmate and we will get the average and that average will of course give an impact with your demonstration. So of course made use of Google Form. And of course, the last is assignment wherein research on the organs that help the digestion process right on your assignment notebook. So it depends on you what will be your assignment. It could be in the form of, or aside from assignment, it could be homework wherein extension of what they have learned this day. You will have an extension to that one by giving homework. And of course, assignment, it could be advanced research of your next topic. So those are the things that you need to remember in writing a lesson plan, a 5 E's lesson plan. And of course, if you have questions, queries, just leave in the comment section. And thank you so much for watching. This is quite long video, but I don't have any time to cut this one. So thank you so much for listening. By the way, this is Mark Jenna Martinez. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and of course subscribe on my channel for more videos. And again, thank you so much. Happy learning.